Welcome back to this episode of Historical Markers, and we are in Gallatin County, Illinois. Wait for this truck. And I hope you join us for this portion, and hope you learned something really interesting, because I'm sure I will. Our next marker is in New Haven, Illinois, and it's this tilted one here. So I'm gonna tilt so we'll be even. How's that? Oh no, that didn't work. Okay, I'll just read it. Jonathan Boone. Oh, this is Boone's Mill. Jonathan Boone, an older brother of the famous pathfinder Daniel Boone, built a mill on this site about 1800. He was born in Pennsylvania in 1730 and died here about 1808. His son Joseph continued to operate the mill. In 1813, Joseph was named to mark out a road from Burnt Prairie to Shawneetown by way of his mill. On August 24th, 1814, he purchased the mill site from the Federal Land Office at Shawneetown. The mill was used as a landmark by the state legislature in describing the boundary line separating White from Gallatin County. Joseph sold the land in 1818, and he died in Mississippi in 1827. We are still in New Haven, Illinois, and this memorial is the Veterans Memorial to the men and women of the past, present, and future that honorably serve our country in the armed services. We pay tribute to you. We're in Shawneetown, Illinois, and there are two markers here. This one is for James Harrison Wilson. James H. Wilson, American Army officer, engineer, and author, was born in 1837 on his family's farm about a mile south of here. He attended Shawneetown schools, McKendree College, and the United States Military Academy. In the spring of 1864, during the Civil War, he commanded Sheridan's 3rd Cavalry Division. In the spring of 1865, as Brevet Major General, Chief of Cavalry, I guess that's Cavalry, Military Division of the Mississippi, Wilson led a month-long mounted campaign through Alabama, capping his exploits by surmounting the fortifications at Selma. Detachments under his command captured Jefferson Davis. Wilson also served in the Spanish-American War and the Boxer Rebellion. He died in 1925. General Michael K. Lawler. Born in Ireland in 1814, Michael K. Lawler came here to Gallatin County in 1819. After serving as a captain in the Mexican War, he lived on his farm near here until the outbreak of the Civil War. In May 1861, he recruited the 18th Illinois Volunteer Infantry Regiment, of which he became colonel. Lawler was wounded during the siege of Fort Donelson. In November 1862, he was commissioned brigadier general, and he fought gallantly in the campaign of Vicksburg in 1863. He became a major general in 1865, returning home the next year. He died in 1882. This marker marks the Black history of Shawneetown. In the 1930 federal census, in Shawneetown, there was a population of 1,440 people, 55 black families with 192 family members. Their occupations were minister, teacher, carpenter, farm labor, hotel porter, laundress, sawmill labor, private maid, sand and gravel labor, mechanic, and stave mill operator. This monument stands on the site where the Dunbar School was relocated with the moving of the town in 1939 to 40. Integration concepts and economic conditions caused the school to be closed in the 1950s and was torn down in 2000. There's a nice etching of the school. This is the other side of the same monument. about Black history in Shawneetown, and it says this monument is a tribute to the original group of Black families who moved from Shawneetown on the river to Shawneetown 3 miles inland, where they would start life anew after the devastation caused by the 1937 flood. And then this is a map of those neighborhoods that the Black families were located in. We are now in Old Shawneetown, Illinois. This was the original location of Shawneetown, right on the Ohio River. And in the big flood in 1937, of course, the town was pretty much destroyed, and Shawneetown itself was moved 3 miles inland. This is the site of the original settlement, now called Old Shawneetown. But it says, Spirit of Shawneetown, oldest town in Illinois. Here we honor the spirit of the place called Shawneetown. This proud spirit was born in the heart of the first stalwart Shawnee brave who saw in this beautiful riverside a home place. It ignited in the first white settler 17 years before the city was surveyed and platted by the U.S. government in 1810. It burned higher and higher through the years until the tiny settlement grew into the most important city in Illinois. The historic visit of General Lafayette in 1825 signified the position of the city. The town still boasts of the application for a loan received from then small city of Chicago. Due to a severe succession of floods, many of the proud people merely moved with their city to higher ground a few miles away, ensuring the safety of its citizens while still maintaining the roots deep in the historic oldest town in Illinois. In the summer of 1960, the spirit of Shawneetown manifests itself in a gigantic sesquicentennial celebration. Each citizen freely gave of his mind, heart, and endless energy to commemorate our heritage. Mementos of the grand parades, the spectacular exhibits, and the highly renowned pageant lie safely preserved here in the earth for those who follow us. All who stand upon this spot and think of these things have met the spirit of Shawneetown. This is the Kaskaskia, Shawneetown, and Goshen trails. In 1816, Congress appropriated $8,000 to survey and construct a road from Kaskaskia on the Mississippi to Shawneetown on the Ohio. It became an important east-west thoroughfare for settlers entering the Illinois Territory. At this point, the Goshen Trail, which ran from the Goshen settlement near Edwardsville to the Salines near Equality, joined the Kaskaskia Shawneetown Trail. Lewis and Clark in Illinois. In the fall of 1803, Captain Meriwether Lewis and William Clark passed this place with about 20 men on their way westward. At the confluence of the Wabash and Ohio rivers, they first reached territory that is now the state of Illinois. They then turned their boats south on the Ohio toward Fort Massac. Lewis and Clark Expedition, 1803 to 1806. Lewis and Clark made their first entry into the Illinois country, as it was known, in 1803 near this location. The primary purpose for the stop was to procure a supply of salt for their journey. Here they would have encountered the squatters, which represented future builders of the society. This area would shortly become the gateway for the settlement in the future state of Illinois. Local settlers had heard of President Jefferson's plans for western expansion and were not excited. By the time that Lewis and Clark visited, they had become supporters. Early settlers to this area, prior to and shortly after the arrival of Lewis and Clark, were Michael Sprinkle, Isaac White, John Marshall, Pierre Labossiere, and John Caldwell. We are still here on the banks of the Ohio River in Old Shawneetown. And General John A. Logan and Mary Cunningham were married on the east side of this lot, November 27th, 1855, in the home of Orville Poole. We're still right here on the banks of the Ohio, and this monument is for this house here. This is the Marshall House. It was the original site of the home of John Marshall, one of the founders and president of the Bank of Illinois, the first bank chartered by the Illinois Territorial Legislature. The charter was issued in 1816. The bank opened at Shawneetown in 1817, suspended operations in the mid-1820s, and reopened from 1834 to 1842. This is the Rawlings Hotel. One of Shawneetown's earliest brick buildings, Rawlings Hotel, stood on this lot. It was built in 1821 to 1822 for Moses Rawlings, who owned it until 1841. On May 7, 1825, it was the site of a reception held for the Marquis de Lafayette during his visit to America, 1824 to 1825, accompanied by Illinois Governor Edward Coles and other dignitaries. Lafayette walked between two long lines of people from the river's edge to the hotel. The building was one of 11 destroyed by fire June 23, 1904. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this portion of historical markers from Gallatin County, Illinois, and maybe you did learn something. All right, so thank you so much, and see you next time.